Christina Grimmie, the rising young voice star, gunned down at a performance.
A body can be seen falling from above and landing on the ground.
What are you doing? No, it's not. Stop. Please stop.
The following stories tell the tale of the final footage of girls and women right before they were horrifically killed. We have an angry and violent husband who threw his wife off of a building in a fit of rage. We have a talented young singer set for stardom when her obsessed stalker shot her down in her prime. And finally, we have an Uber driver shot and killed for no reason at all.
Her tragic death at a concert venue in Orlando nearly a week ago was lost in the barrage of other violent headlines. Christina Grimmie, the rising young voice star, gunned down at a performance. New details now on those final moments that awful night, and new insights on how hard it is to keep performers safe.
Christina Grimmie was a beautiful girl and the second child of her parents, Tina and Albert. She was born March 12, 1994, and had an older brother named Mark. The family were all extremely close and would describe themselves to each other as best friends. Sometimes Christina and her brother would even perform music together. She would sing and he would play guitar. There had been difficulties early in Christina's life that helped the family bond together. The most notable difficulty was that her mother Tina was diagnosed with breast cancer when Christina was just 1 year old. Tina beat the cancer the first time, but it came back again when Christina was 4 years old. This time it had reached stage 4 and was incredibly serious. It wasn't clear if she was going to be able to pull through. The family did everything they could to support her during this time. While Tina beat cancer again, all of the family was very aware that it could come back at any point. That's why they made it a special point to treasure every moment with each other and live life to the fullest. Part of this involved Tina and Albert making sure to support their children and encourage them to follow their dreams, no matter what it took. For Christina, it was evident from a very young age that she was an incredible singer. It wasn't just that she was talented, she was extremely talented. She had incredible natural talent that would only become more and more impressive as she got older. Her parents knew that they had to help her pursue a career in music, despite the fact that they didn't have any connection and they knew very little about the industry. They felt that if they didn't do this, her incredible talents would go to waste. When Christina was 10 years old, they got her into piano lessons, and it soon became clear that her talents exceeded just singing. She could also play by ear very well. Music was one of her greatest passions and something that she enjoyed very much. As she entered her teenage years, she loved to sit in her room and record songs and share them online. In fact, she would rather do that than virtually anything else, and got a great deal of praise online for her work. People would even request different songs that they would enjoy hearing next.
There is one word that, as far as I know, she made up herself.
Friends. You guys rock so hard.
Friend, which is a mixture of the word fan and friend.
I love you and thank you for supporting me, and you never know, maybe I'll get a Grammy one day.
Christina was a well-liked girl with plenty of friends, but when it came to parties and social gatherings, she would much rather stay home and make music. She had found her passion in life, and it was something she wanted to do forever. Through posting her songs on YouTube, Christina developed quite a following online and had an actual fan base. She was known for singing cover songs, but would adjust them in some way by putting her own twist on them. Christina never wanted or expected the fame that she would one day have. She just wanted to make music.
So funny because everyone asks me, why did you post your first video? What made you want to do that? And what were you expecting from it? And I'm always like, I really don't know. I wasn't expecting success. Honestly, that wasn't even on my brain. I didn't understand tour and the business. I didn't understand any of that. I literally just liked to sing. And I can't even really remember my thought process either, posting the first video. I think it was just, I liked to see, me singing back. I liked to see what I could either fix or if it sounds good. I think it was almost more for myself than it was for, gathering up subscribers or people at the time. But it kind of turned into something obviously much bigger than I expected.
The only reason Christina had ever made the decision to post her music on YouTube was because a friend of hers convinced her to. This friend showed Christina a YouTube singer who had thousands of subscribers. She told her that Christina was even more talented than this person, and if they could succeed, so could she. Her friend was certainly right about that. The first song that Christina posted was Don't Wanna Be Torn. It was a Hannah Montana song that had just come out. She posted the video to YouTube in 2009, and as of 2022, it has a remarkable 1.3 million views.
That's it.
The comments on the video were very positive. They were full of praise from people who appreciated her talent and wanted to hear more. Christina's parents had mixed feelings about their daughter's budding YouTube career. On the one hand, her mother was absolutely terrified. She didn't understand much about the YouTube world, but she was afraid that her daughter was going to be victimized by some creepy stranger, and she wanted Christina to delete her popular video right away. Christina's father had opposite feelings. He felt like the praise was really good for his daughter, and that this could really be a positive thing. So eventually, Albert managed to calm his wife down, and they decided to continue to allow Christina to post online. She just wasn't allowed to meet up with any of the strangers without them knowing. Even though the majority of the comments on Christina's videos were very positive and were from young girls who looked up to her, here and there she would get a negative one from someone telling her she wasn't a good singer or that she needed to do something different. Every now and then, there would be a particularly cruel and hateful comment from someone clearly jealous of her that would urge Christina to hurt herself. Christina had never experienced bullying until now, and even though she knew she could focus on the more positive comments than the hateful ones, she found herself struggling with the few bad ones. One in particular pointed out that her nose flared when she sang. This caused her to begin to feel as if she needed to obsess over her appearance and record her songs over and over again until she felt she looked perfect enough for them to be released online. Eventually, Christina had reached such an impressive level of online celebrity that it would no longer be practical for her to attend traditional school. There were too many people trying to leech off her fame, and it just wasn't healthy anymore. Other classmates were so jealous of her that they began to bully her, both online and in person. One individual even made a fake Twitter account impersonating her. They would write horrible things on other people's pages. She would eventually have to address this imposter online.
Hey guys, I just wanted to let you guys know that there's been a lot of negative comments. I've been getting a lot of trash talk because of Twitter. I just made a Twitter about 5 minutes ago. Even a couple of my really close friends have came up to me and they've just told me, all your fans like hate you now because you're being really cocky and rude. And I was like, but that's not me. So I never ever had a Twitter up until 5 minutes ago, and that Twitter is The Real Grimmie, and there's a link in the thing below. So if you want to check it out, go ahead, but I'm just letting you know I never had a Twitter before that, ever. Just letting you guys know.
Despite the hate that she often received, Christina stayed strong and continued to build more and more success for herself. As she grew, she became friends with big-name stars like Selena Gomez. Selena helped Christina further her career and learn how to deal with the hate. Selena would also help connect Christina with opportunities through Disney and would introduce her to other huge pop stars like Justin Bieber. Eventually, Christina's success was becoming so great that she and her mother decided to make the big decision to move to LA. She began touring with Selena and the Jonas Brothers, and even made an appearance on The Ellen Show, where she had the opportunity to perform.
Goodbye to no one. Thought you were someone. Goodbye to no one.
Disney absolutely loved Christina and thought that she would easily be the next best thing in Hollywood. While they began to search for the perfect spot for her, she got her first show called Power Up with Christina Grimmie. This show explored her love of video games. While the show would only last for 11 episodes before getting canceled, she would soon after get to release her first ever album. It did very well on the Billboard Top 200, and it was clear that this was only the very start of this young star's career. In 2014, she would take another great big step by auditioning for the show, The Voice. It was the 6th season of the show, and she instantly became a fan favorite. Her performance of Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball in the blind auditions quickly got the attention of the judges, who would ultimately end up competing against one another to get her on their team.
I came in like a
And it's gonna get bloody, and we're gonna fight, but I'm gonna fight harder than you.
No harder than me.
No one fights harder than me.
No one
6
fights.
seasons. 6 seasons.
He hasn't had a day off.
Many people thought Christina definitely had the win in the bag. She unfortunately only ended up getting 3rd place. Nevertheless, all the exposure she got through the show helped really boost her popularity, and her songs topped the charts. About a year later, Christina was continuing to stay very busy. She was working on another album and had landed an acting role that she was so excited for. She had so much to look forward to and undoubtedly would have enjoyed a long life of success and fame. Unfortunately, all of this was ruined because of one man named Kevin Loibel. A shockingly little amount of information is available about Kevin. He was somewhat of a recluse who didn't have many friends and wasn't close to his family. He was a major pessimist and essentially the opposite of Christina, who represented joy, light, and positivity. 27-year-old Kevin didn't have much motivation to start a career or even move out of his parents' house. His primary job consisted of repairing electronics through the Geek Squad.
He was an advanced repair agent, which is basically the highest level of computer repair tech there. A highly intelligent guy. We invited him out places and stuff like that. He just didn't care to have much of an outside social life.
Kevin was known to not have care or affection towards others. That is, until he happened to stumble upon a video of Christina Grimmie performing. He became absolutely obsessed with her. There was something different about her that set her apart from any other woman he had ever seen. He began telling everyone he knew about her, saying that she was the most beautiful, intelligent, and talented woman he had ever met. When they asked to see pictures of her, he would pull up her YouTube channel and show them her millions of views. At that point, they would understandably become dismissive of him and not believe that there was any way that he could actually be talking with someone of Christina's caliber. None of this seemed to discourage Kevin, and every night when he played video games, he would tell the other players about how one day he and Christina would be together forever.
Kevin Loibel engages in all this transformation. The idea being becoming her dream person would be the route to getting close to her.
Even though he was lying about having ever talked to her, he truly believed she was his soulmate. The more that Kevin learned about Christina, the more he tried to change himself to become someone she would find attractive. He became a vegan because she was vegan, he got hair plugs, and even started going to church after learning that Christina was Christian. On June 10th of 2016, Kevin would express his obsession with Christina in the most tragic and confusing way. She was at the Plaza, live in Orlando, Florida, for a tour. She had just completed her performance, as seen here. This is sadly some of the last footage of Christina alive. When she finished, she decided to stick around to sign autographs.
Oh my God! Really? I saw you on the street in New York.
Kevin, stocked with handguns, magazines, and a hunting knife, approached the stage and shot Christina. She would later die of her injuries at just 22 years old. Almost immediately after the shot, Christina's older brother Marcus tackled the gunman, and Kevin shot and killed himself.
Marcus, did you hear any statements the guy made before?
He said nothing.
Nothing.
Literally nothing. Just walked up. It just happened. I hear a shot, and I'm looking, more shots. I jump on the guy immediately, screaming at him, and just throws me off like it's nothing.
The concept that still makes me get emotional that she was reaching out to hug the person who murdered her. It just says so much about her. Just a genuine, loving spirit.
As for the motive, this was all planned out by Kevin for some sick reason. In fact, he traveled many miles to do this.
The suspect in this case is not from Orlando. The suspect traveled to Orlando, apparently to commit this crime, and then had plans to travel back to where he came from.
When the news of Christina's tragic death began to spread, countless celebrities posted on social media to express their heartbreak, including Pharrell. Christina's funeral was a particularly touching and emotional affair, especially her brother Marcus's speech. He explained how the gunman came very quickly, but that Christina's arms were open at that moment, as if she was seeing Jesus.
When the gunman came, he was very quick, happened so fast, but her arms were open. And the way she worded it was, she saw Jesus next. So her arms were open for him. And that's how she treated everyone she knew. Her arms were open to them at all times. So thanks again for coming out, guys. And I love you, Christina. You're the best.
Christina's parents said they can find comfort in knowing that their daughter is in heaven with God and that she will never have to be in pain again.
The last time I saw my daughter was on my birthday. We always have a mother-daughter time. We go get something to eat and talk. And we went on my birthday, all of me, Bud, and Christina and Mark. We went to Cheesecake Factory, and it was really nice. And then they had to get things ready for tour. I always told her I loved her.
Why do you think Kevin did what he did? Could this have been prevented in some way? Let us know your opinion in the comments.
A young woman thrown from the 4th floor of a balcony. Her final moments caught on CCTV.
This story takes place in Brazil. Tatiane Spitzner was a successful 29-year-old lawyer. She and her husband Louis had been married for 5 years. 32-year-old Louis was a biology teacher and very passionate about the topic of physical health. The two met back in 2013 and they developed strong feelings for each other right away. They wasted no time before getting engaged. In fact, their engagement was very short, just 2 weeks long. The pair were married in December, and Louis promised to love and care for Tatiane for the rest of her life. Spoiler alert, this is a promise that he would not keep. Louis' birthday came around, and instead of it being a happy, fun day, it was anything but. Tatiane was a few minutes late coming home from work, and they got into a huge fight. They had plans to meet friends for dinner, but Tatiane had stopped to get her nails done on the way home, making them late. Louis was really angry about this. This may have been due to the fact that while his wife was a social butterfly, Louis didn't really have very many friends. He spent most of his spare time working out and trying to be as fit as possible. In fact, it would later be discovered he was injecting large amounts of steroids. This likely contributed to the fact that he would have sudden bouts of anger and would become violent. Still, this is no excuse for what he would later do to poor Tatiane. Eventually, the couple would finally make it to the restaurant for dinner. According to those who were in attendance for the birthday dinner, things started out smoothly and it appeared that the couple had resolved their issues. They were both drinking and having fun when, out of nowhere, Tatiane confronted Louis about some girl he had been messaging on Instagram. He defended himself, saying that he had simply posted on his story that it was his birthday and that a few women had responded to wish him a happy birthday. He then accused Tatiane of being jealous. But later on, Tatiane's best friend, Juliana, would come out to say that it was actually Louis who was jealous in the relationship, and sometimes he would even resort to violence when he was mad.
Tati was very reserved with personal matters, but with me, she opened up. The first time she complained about Louis Philippe, she said that his jealousy bothered her.
In fact, Tati was so scared of her husband that she was even thinking about a divorce, her friend recalled.
Tati called me in November to congratulate me on my birthday, and she already wanted to meet me for coffee. At that point, the complaints became more incisive. She even talked about divorce because she was so scared. But the bureaucracy that comes with it made Tatiana dismiss the idea.
Tati would also tell her friend that Louis treated her very badly, even contradicting her and berating her in public. She couldn't stand him. So clearly things leading up to what would become the tragic night of Louis' birthday were less than smooth in this couple's marriage. Tatiane's friends hated knowing that she wasn't being treated right, especially because everyone who knew her knew what an amazing person she was. She was fun-hearted and kind, and she loved to go to parties. This makes the way that Louis' birthday party turned out all the more tragic. After the argument at the restaurant, the couple returned home to their apartment. Security footage captures the moment their car pulled up to the building. While it's a little grainy, you could tell that there's a scuffle going on inside the vehicle, and Louis can be seen slapping his wife across the face several times. All of this occurred before poor Tatiane was even able to get out of the vehicle. She knew that her life was in danger at that point, and she tried to fight him off, but she was no match for his incredible strength. Their car pulled into the parking garage, and Louis can be seen following and tormenting Tatiane as she tries to get away from him. Despite her desperate attempts to run away, Louis managed to catch her and punch her over and over again. Remarkably, she escapes and manages to get to the elevator. She got to the elevator just in time and pushed the button to try to close the door as fast as she could, but Louis forced his way inside. The security camera in the elevator captures the whole thing. Louis grabs Tatiane by the front of her shirt and pushes her against the wall. When the elevator starts moving up, it seems as if Louis momentarily calms down, but just for a bit. But then, as soon as the doors open, Tatiane makes a run for it and tries to sprint out of the elevator. That's when Louis lunged for her, roughly grabbing her and tugged her back into the elevator, not allowing her to escape. At one point, she actually falls to the floor, but he just drags her back. This disturbing footage shows Tatiane fighting back against her husband with all her strength and doing everything she can to get away from him, but it's not of any use. He is too strong for her. Violently and callously, he threw her against the wall of the elevator. She hit her head and fell to the floor. After what feels like forever, the elevator doors again open, and the couple gets out. Louis with his arms around Tatiane. This is the last footage available of them that shows Tatiane breathing. It's hard to imagine how much worse he may have treated her when there were no cameras rolling. After this point, the couple returns to their apartment. Unfortunately, what happens next is too graphic to show without it being blurred. It was captured from the surveillance camera outside of the couple's apartment. A body can be seen falling from above and landing on the ground. This body would unfortunately later be declared as Tatiane's, but it is not found on the street. That's because Louis, seemingly unaware that he is being recorded, comes down and gets it. He picks up Tatiane, who is now deceased, and carries her into the elevator. After dropping his wife's lifeless body on the floor of the elevator, he can be seen putting his hands on his head in a gesture that seems to convey shock or panic, like he can't believe what just happened. After getting to the floor, Louis takes the body out. He then came back to wipe the blood off the floor and the walls of the elevator. Louis then tried to escape the situation by getting in his car and driving away, but he didn't get far. This is because back at the apartment, he had called the police to inform them that he had seen someone moving a body. There had also been some people that heard a man yelling, "My love, wake up." Louis would ultimately crash his car while trying to get away and was promptly arrested. He would later tell police he made a run for it because he was disturbed after seeing his wife jump from the balcony. When Tatiane's body is later located, it's determined that she had a high amount of alcohol in her blood. This is not surprising, as it was determined that she had been drinking at the birthday dinner. Her body was also found to have hand marks around her neck, and it appeared that she had been strangled. In fact, a bone near her neck had been fractured. It was also determined that she was dead before plummeting off the balcony, so it was ruled out of the possibility of suicide. She had to have been pushed or dropped. The prosecutor in this case made the following statement about the findings surrounding the state of Tatiane's body.
Our investigation proves that the victim was killed inside the apartment by strangulation, and her body was thrown over the balcony of the apartment. We believe the accused then took the elevator to the ground floor and collected Tatiana's body, taking it back up to the apartment in the elevator.
As the police gathered information about the case, many of Tatiane's friends came forward to talk about how badly Louis treated Tatiane and how she wanted a divorce for a long time. But Louis' defense denied these claims and said that the two had a very happy relationship. Thankfully, there were text messages to Tatiane's friends that gave concrete proof that she wasn't happy in her marriage. In these messages, she explained that her husband had little interest in her physically and would even push her away in bed. He seemed to be completely disgusted with her, which of course made her feel very badly about herself. But that's not all. It would also come out that Louis would often call his wife degrading nicknames, such as albino, in order to make fun of her pale skin color. He would also take it upon himself to destroy any pieces of her clothing that he didn't personally approve of. He didn't help her with any of the housework, whether it be grocery shopping or cleaning, and instead told her that it was her duty to take care of those things. He even tried to control how she spent her money. Because she was a lawyer, she made good money, but she was not to spend it without her husband's permission. If she did, and he found out, he would destroy whatever she had purchased. But the worst thing he would ever do to poor Tatiane was get violent with her and ultimately take her life. Luckily, he would not get away with what he did to his wife, and the security footage from that night contributed to that fact. In July of 2018, Louis went to trial and faced a jury of all men. He was sentenced to 30 years behind bars for the murder of Tatiane, one of the most famous acts of femicide in recent years. He was also sentenced to fraud, which earned him an additional year, 9 months, and 19 days in prison. While on trial, Louis did apologize to his victim's family for what had happened, but he denied ever committing the murder. Despite the fact that there was mountains of evidence pointing towards him as the killer, he stuck to his original story, which was that his wife had initially jumped off the balcony with the intention of taking her own life. Tatiane's family were satisfied with Louis' sentence. They felt that it not only meant justice for their young daughter, but it also sent a clear message to the rest of the nation. It was a message that said domestic violence in no form will be tolerated. It was a warning, in a sense, that if you put your hands on a woman or a man, you will face prosecution. It will hopefully also encourage other victims of domestic violence to come forward and tell their story, so they can get help instead of continuing to live in an environment of abuse. Tatiane's sister Luna started an Instagram page in memory of her. The page is intended to also raise awareness about domestic violence. Before long, the page accumulated over 90,000 followers. May Tatiane's bright light be remembered forever, and may all those suffering from domestic violence seek help. We should warn you that the following story and the real-life footage it contains may be disturbing to some viewers.
Just over a week ago, friends and family reported Christy Spicuzza missing. Her car that she used to drive for Uber was found in Pitcairn with her things still in it, but no trace of her.
Last Saturday, a body was found in a wooded area in Monroeville. The remains were identified as Spicuzza. Police say she'd been shot to death.
Christy Spicuzza was a 38-year-old, hard-working mother of 4 from Pennsylvania. She worked as an Uber driver to help provide for her family. The evening of February 10th, 2022, started out just like any other day when she picked up someone who had ordered a ride at around 9:15 p.m. Unfortunately, because of her evil passenger, this would be the last ride of her life. The events are all captured on her dash camera.
Hi, Fortunaya. How are you today?
She greets her passenger very politely. The individual cannot be heard responding. The figure that gets into her car is wearing a hoodie and a mask with just his eyes showing. Around this time of the COVID-19 pandemic, Uber was requiring drivers and passengers to wear masks. The only problem with this policy is that the drivers virtually have no idea who's getting into the car with them, or if they are who they portray themselves to be. In this case, it was quite clear that the passenger is not a woman named Tanya. The first 10 minutes of the ride goes on without any issue. But then all of a sudden, you can see the passenger begin to lean forward. You can tell that they are up to no good. And then out of nowhere, the passenger pulls out a gun and holds it up to the head of poor, unsuspecting Christy. As she begins to realize what is happening, Christy raises the one hand that's not on the wheel as if to gesture that she's not trying to fight back. The passenger raises Christy's ponytail and pushes the gun against her neck.
What are you doing?
This is the gun. Keep driving.
No, it's not. Stop. Come on, man. I got a family. What are you
I got
doing?
a family too. Now drive.
What are you doing?
Drive.
Please stop.
Drive the car, miss.
Her passenger tells her that he has a family too. She reaches back, and when she touches the gun, she knows that her life is in danger. She begins to plead with him to spare her life. The driver forced her to drive another hour. All the while, she is getting notifications from Uber, prompting her to pick up new riders. Eventually, the passenger notices the dash camera and turns it off. Unfortunately, that would be the last footage of Christy alive because her passenger would soon after shoot and kill her in a robbery attempt.
Her kids were her world. Her family was her world. She was literally the person you want your daughter to grow up to be. I'm just mad because her babies don't deserve to go through this. They don't deserve their last memories of their mother to be this incident. And there was nothing. There was no reason for this.
Her killer was arrested not long after Christy's body was found. His name was Calvin Crew, and he's 22 years old. He and Christy didn't know one another ahead of time, and his only motive was to rob her. Taking her life seemed to be an afterthought when the robbery didn't go as planned. He faced charges of homicide, robbery, and tampering with evidence. He is yet to face trial, but will likely face many years in prison for callously throwing away a young woman's life for no reason whatsoever. Christy leaves behind young children and a family who loved her very much.